What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday afternoon with the man, the myth down below. Big Nades on a little heater. Yesterday was watching some, is Timber Rattlers? Is that AAA, AA? I'm not sure which one, but he was watching some other baseball. Turns out, checks the screen, $72 into 3,000 something. Plenty of members benefited too. We don't preach like, oh, Nade's got his core, just tail his core and you're going to win all the time. No, but Nade's knows his stuff. Play a couple lineups, maybe one you do mix in his core. Every single one went deep. Absolute great stuff. Big Nays. Congrats to you. Congrats to multiple winners. Hoop a couple days ago. Shaloob last week. Plenty of members in the Discord. MLB's heating up over here. How you doing, Nates?
Yeah, MLB's been, can't ask for a better start. I know for about 2.5, 3 weeks there, I was probably pretty brutal in the chat, just tilting my face off multiple times, but that's baseball. I mean, it is just the way it goes, right? You got to take the downs with the ups, and probably one of the better starts to the season that I can ask for. Yesterday was pretty nice when you kind of throw in your teams early on a Sunday, right? We have all the lineups in early, and I head out to the old ballpark, enjoy some 70 degrees, and watch two of the best baseball prospects go at it in single A, actually. So both teams are affiliated. The Timber Rattlers, obviously, with the Brewers, and then the Tigers were in town. Well, the Tigers single A affiliate with Max Clark. I think he's like 15th overall prospect in all of MLB. Absolute certified stud. He went over 4. There were some high school kids or college kids in the stands just absolutely chirping him, chanting overrated and stuff. And I mean, he hit 2 laser beams lefty to start the game, lined out to short and then lined out to third base like Oppo. And then it was just funny. So it was fun enjoying that with the family and nephew and my girlfriend and that at the old local ballpark here. And it's always nice when you open the old DraftKings app and you see 4 figures staring at you in the screen there. So it took second in the 121 yesterday. Had a run at the top. Pitchers obviously it's kind of been the theme as of late, right? These top end pitchers just haven't been having the ceilings that we've seen from like last year, right? Where multiple guys, felt like every night last season for the most part, somebody was going out there and getting you 30 to 35, and if you didn't have them, you're kind of dead. Hasn't been really the case, and I think it's more of the case here tonight that we're going to talk about. So maybe that's something we got to look at, right? Early part of the season here. The game's evolved, right? Continues to evolve, the torpedo bats, etc. I don't know if they have juice baseballs in there or not yesterday. The Royals hit 18 home runs all year, and I think they had 7 yesterday in the game. I love the breakout spot, called it, and I was actually pretty shocked at their ownership last night compared to probably what it's going to be here tonight, just recency bias, everything going into that, and just the nature of the slate at hand tonight. Going to kind of leave the Royals in general, pitching and hitting, as kind of the clear-cut spot that everybody wants to go to. So we'll do our best to kind of navigate through that. But yeah, riding high, and it's been amazing over here at the Nation. Multiple winners yesterday in the Discord, tailing my core, and even amongst that, right, over the last 3 weeks, Hoop, Hebrew, Shaloob, the list goes on and on. The community's been absolutely smashing. So looking to keep the train rolling here.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing you mentioned a lot about the pitchers, man, like the pitch count, people like DeGrom getting pulled early, multiple starts in a row and stuff. That's why I always like this pitch count number from SaberSim over here. Usually it's dragged all the way over. I think it was like almost far right. I drag it all the way right now next to my max exposure. I do want, and again, it is hard to project pitches, but I do want, at least if I'm paying probably 9K and above, 8K and above for the most part on most slates, I want my guys to at least be around that 90 pitch mark. Because back in the day, you go 3-4 years ago, you'd be seeing 98, 97 for their average pitch count. The Scherzers, the DeGroms of the world, the Verlanders of the world. Even the bums, the SP2s, we're at least getting to the low 90s, upper 80s most of the time. The league has definitely changed with all the injuries and such a long year. So the pitch count is definitely something I keep in mind when breaking down pitchers. And it's really tilting to see your guy pull that 65, 75. Tobias Myers a couple of nights ago went like 3 innings. I don't know if he was like in the 40s, and the projected pitch count was in the 80s. So that's definitely something. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other night, right, with Flaherty was just absolutely rolling. He got roughed up a little bit in kind of the first inning, bounced back, was just absolutely rolling, and they pulled him at 73 pitches. And I know obviously that was the slate that kind of everybody was chanting, kind of lock him in, right? I mean, he was 70% owned or whatever, so it doesn't really kill you. But I mean, the dude was just absolutely cruising, mowing at 73 pitches. Like, historically, we're seeing these pitchers go 6 and 7 innings, getting into that 100 to 110 outside of organizations like the Dodgers, right? Where now it's pretty much spanned across the entire MLB. So it's definitely, I did the same thing in Saber, same our partner with the optimizer. I have the pitches right next to every pitcher's name. So I dragged it all the way over to the left. It shows me name, and then it shows me the pitches right there. So I take that into account a lot as well, especially when you're kind of splitting hairs at the top end, right? When you're looking at these pitchers and everything else kind of checks out. I'm going to give the slight nod to the guy that at least is anticipated to throw longer and has a longer leash, because that's been the nature of the game. Rio talked about it in the chat right now, is everything's advanced analytics, right? You talk about in NFL, right, of all the 4th and goals and all the going for it and less field goals. It's all trickling over to all sports and advanced analytics with the StatCast data and all of this. And I think it's going to take a turn for the worst in the back half of the season, right? When all these bullpens are taxed and these guys' arms are falling off, right? And you're seeing it. I mean, you're seeing it with the Dodgers right now. They went out and just absolutely loaded the wagon on pitching, and they're dealing with injuries because their starters historically go 4 innings, 5 innings, and then they rely on the bullpen for the remainder of the second half of the game. And that's just not sustainable when you're playing baseball 6 to 7 nights a week, right? So it's going to be interesting to see second half of the year what happens to a lot of these bullpens. And that's why I've been focused so much on the bullpens. And every time I do a breakdown, I'm always talking about what the bullpens look like and in terms of ranking wise, because over half the game right now in today's state, you're playing against the bullpen, right? So I'd much rather, especially when a team can dictate matchups right out of the bullpen, I'd much rather attack weaker bullpens than go and attack the Giants, go and attack the Yankees, the Padres, etc. In terms of bullpens that rank near the top. We have a big enough sample now to kind of see some of the trends that are starting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cam talked about it, Dakota, Scooball last week. Just stuff you can't, like, there's nothing I would have changed different on that slate, but it's something that I'm going to keep in my mind moving forward with certain pitchers and stuff. But it feels like a lot of guesswork because you don't know what managers are going to do. Yesterday, and then we'll get to the slate, just the Braves and Dodgers Sunday night baseball game, had it on, watching the background. They were debating. Michael Conforto was up. Michael Conforto has been one of the worst baseball players, him and Jock, so far this year. They threw in the lefty, a reliever, went to the bullpen to go lefty. Well, obviously the Dodgers countered. They have enough pinch hit bats. They go Miguel Rojas instead of Conforto to get the platoon advantage. Miguel Rojas goes deep. Then they got to pull that guy like the next at bat or two. But they're looking advanced analytics because the announcers are talking about it pre-game. A spot like this happens, we're doing this. Well, then they counter with a way better bat, and sometimes analytics can bite you in the ass. Now, I'm the biggest proponent for analytics. Levitan did a great interview with the Florida analytics guy in college basketball talking about free throws when they were down like 8 points in the Sweet 16, I believe it was. No, I mean, Elite 8 or Final 4, regardless, about why they fouled early to give themselves more of a chance, who you foul, the front end, the 1-on-1, just how deep analytics can go. So I like it, but yeah, it can definitely hurt your pocket and hurt what you're doing on the occasion as well. So got to say hi to everyone in chat. Then we'll get right into this slate. Go Collect, Lyle, Pop Stoner, Michael Peterson, K-Pad, Max Manning, Amazing Asian, MN Hala, I Am Rice, Kim Gold, Rio, Ricky, Knicks fan. Good luck to you, Knicks fan, today. Tough series. Scooter, Nate D already said hi to Cam. Jake, what's going on? Kenny, what is going on? Devin Davis, appreciate every single one hanging out. How do you change your process if you're doing one lineup per night versus multiple entries? I'm almost always a multiple entry guy. If you're doing one lineup, I mean, build your favorite lineup, but that also takes into consideration ownership, the contest. Is it a 150 max? Is it a single entry? Is it a 20 max? If you want to add anything to that, Nades, you can do that. And then broad slate overview.
Yeah. So I typically on most nights play 2 to 3 teams. My main team is always obviously the main core, like yesterday that I dropped in the chat. Typically on a main team, single entry 3-max stuff for my main contest. I kind of throw it in a bunch of other stuff just to give upside. But you're mainly building for kind of your bulk of your entries, right? Which is single entry 3-max, etc. I'm assuming that's kind of what the question's relying about. And typically I'm going to eat more chalk at pitcher as long as they're good arms. Like yesterday, I just played the chalk pairing in DeGrom, and I'm drawing a blank on the other guy.
Crochet.
Yeah, Crochet. So I just played DeGrom and Crochet yesterday. And I knew the offenses, there was enough good spots where offense was going to kind of get spread out enough. And I figured the Royals, with the hitting environment, I'm a big guy for ballparks and hitting, and the weather was great for hitting there yesterday. Hence, you've seen all the solo home runs from both sides of that game. I'm more willing to eat the chalk at pitcher in that kind of build and then get different from the bats because, I mean, you see these hitters. I mean, yesterday, Bobby Witt, until obviously he hit the home run, I mean, he was like 0 for 3. People were tilting him, etc. So it's a lot easier for hitters to fail than it is for pitching. So when you're stuck and kind of hunkered on one team, I typically take more of the safety approach, right, in pitchers. Obviously, in MME, you're going to change that, right? You're probably going to be overweight or at least match the field on kind of the quote-unquote best plays. But then you can actually leverage against those with other stacks because you have a broader portfolio. In kind of one max team, I'm more so honing in on pitching, kind of seeing what the field's doing. And as long as I tend to agree, there is obviously cases, right, where I'm not going to agree. And whoever you follow, right, we talk about it in the Discord, talk about it in content, etc. on why – okay, this guy's getting mega chalk, and I just don't believe it, right? He's got walk issues, etc. That doesn't always work out, but that's typically on kind of how I approach the slate is I'm going to kind of hone in more on the pitching and more willing to eat kind of the safety chalk, if you will. That's hence why they're kind of drawing the ownership there.
Makes a lot of sense. We talk about it a lot. Baseball is one of the most high variance sports, but a lot of that has to do with bats. The best player in the world can go 0 for 4 any single day. If you bat 300, you're a Hall of Famer more times than not. So pitching-wise, it's a lot easier to project pitching. I mean, it still takes one bad inning. It takes one Dalton Varsho falling in the outfield, and instead of catching that ball, he doesn't. While you're getting an earned run because he didn't touch it, you don't give him the air on that, and then your pitcher gets screwed, has to throw 15 more pitches when it wasn't his fault. Always variance that way, but definitely a lot of variance in the hitting. So also what you can do, what I like, use SaberSim again. And SaberSim, usually any optimizer out there is very expensive. Right now, there is literally no better time to try it though. Usually $99 for all of our content, SaberSim and the Discord. Use the code DGen75. You can try all that out for the first month for only $24, less than $1 a day. As you can see right here, you'll core package. You'll be able to build 250 teams, see 150, and late swap. If you do want SaberSim's projections, ownership, and contest flashback, you can see that in the starter package as well. If you want to run the sims, SaberSim, by far the best. Build 5,000 teams. Also get the contest flashback, projections, ownership from SaberSim, and be able to see pitch count, etc., projected pitches. That is on the ultimate plan. If you're playing hundreds of dollars a week, I think you should give it a try. But right now, anyone out there playing any bit of DFS, just $24 for your first month using the code DGen75. And then SaberSim, when you upload your lineup right here, SaberSim takes into consideration how big the contest is. You should be building different if it's a 100-man contest versus a 10,000-man contest. When you sort by Saber score, they will automatically have the contest size. Play around, see what SaberSim's building. But when you're building one team, it's a virtual hand build. Oh, I know today I want Reagans and Boyd. Okay, I'll lock Reagans and Boyd. See what else is going on with the stacks, etc. that way. So I'd recommend that. We also, more education, MLB education video. I definitely recommend checking that out. All the other sports as well, if you play them. All right, Nades, let me refresh the new projections. Let's take the average of SHIPIT Nation and SaberSim, sort and pitcher. And the only filter I have up here, show pitchers with a projection greater than 8.5. If there's anyone projected less than 8.5 that you want to play today, you can let me know. I usually don't like playing pitchers projected for 8.5 or less. Last thing before I throw it to you, 8K and above pitching, weather. Always check it right away. Someone mentioned above with the Yankees. So it was orange-yellow from, again, Kevin Roth on Roto Grinders. It was orange-yellow earlier. He updated. It is now yellow-orange. So I'm seeing that. Let's see. We may cleared right around game time. Let us play through light sprinkles. I'm seeing this. I'm going to pretend right now we're all good to play. So we're going to talk 8 games. Pitching's fine, hitting's fine, etc. Maybe it will not be. We always update. Take the MLB chat in Discord if stuff changes. But let's pretend that game goes, and we could play a Nick Pivetta if we did want. 8K and above, one guy stands out in a tier of his own, Cole Reagans, in terms of projection and ownership. Take it away. What else do you like in this top tier?
Yeah, so pitching for me, it's Reagans, and then kind of you jump off the nearest cliff, and it's everybody else down at the bottom. Realistically, there is a little bit slight injury concern that's going on with Reagans. We saw it in his last start. His last start got cut short. I don't think there's anything really to worry about. He's single entry cash, 3 max. He's a lock for me. It's just taken because even if he goes out there and gets us 4 innings on a slate like this, where I'll touch on Pivetta and Rodon, who are kind of the main pivots off of there. There's an extreme hitters up there in Yankee Stadium. You got the rain, you got the weather, etc. I'm sure it's pretty decent overall for hitting in Yankee Stadium is in general. And then you add that with the extreme hitters ump and the weather concerns. I mean, one pop-up shower can put that game in delay. And both of those two, that's 2 of the top 5 bullpens in baseball. They're very easily fine going bullpen game there. So without no really clear pivots, Reagans, I think you just lock them in, single entry cash, 3 max stuff. In MME, sure. Do I want to go 100%? No, I'm not going 100% in MME. I'm going to run 60 in that $5 tonight. I'll probably be over the field, but not to an extent where I'm locking him in. I expect him to come in around in MME format, right around 50 to 60%. So maybe I have slightly over that, roughly 70-ish%. And then I'll have some stacks against him, mini stacks, to kind of leverage that in some of my other portfolio. But any teams outside of MME, I mean, you're just playing Reagans realistically. Pivetta and Rodon, like I talked about, I'll start with Rodon because he's cheaper. Padres already don't strike out. I get it. Rodon does have high strikeout rate stuff, but with the umpire, I mean, the umpire's ERA behind the dish is sitting over a 4 on average. I mean, it's extreme. I don't really take umpire factors too much into account until it gets into the extreme category, like Bill Miller, right, for pitchers. They have an extreme hitters ump there, so I'm slightly worried about that with the weather. So for me personally, I'm not even messing with Pivetta and Rodon. In MME, they might sprinkle in somewhat. I prefer Pivetta to Rodon just with the matchup. There's more strikeouts in the Yankees lineup than there is the Padres lineup. So I prefer Pivetta slightly to Rodon if you're going there. But single entry 3 max stuff, I'm not touching either of those guys. Brady Singer is quote unquote probably pivot if you want to pivot there. He's not going to pick up much ownership. He's going to be held pretty in check. We know what this Atlanta team is. There's been a lot of strikeouts to be had. They're starting to hit the baseball better as well. Singer's looked pretty good. I don't mind him at 8,800, but my favorite SP2 on the slate is Matthew Boyd. It's not going to be contrarian by any means. The chalk pairing of tonight in single entry 3 max stuff is much like yesterday that we had with Crochet and DeGrom. It's going to be Reagans and Boyd today. Win game in Wrigley, some of the metrics and park factor stuff that I look at there with the current environment that we're going to expect in Wrigley is a significant downgrade to home runs, which you're kind of really struggled and really worried about there. So I think Matthew Boyd looks solid. His pitch count should be up over 90. We got him at right around 92. Saber has him at, and at 8,300, everything kind of checks out for me. The other guys above 8K, Bryce Miller, there's some concerns there with his control and his strikeouts in general. I mean, he's had a bunch of walks in all of his starts. Now he goes out to Oakland in the highest game total of the slate. I don't really want to pay that personally. I think he's fine just due to the slate. I'd be right around the field, maybe slightly over just in MME stuff. I think he's a fine option. So for me, really above 8K, it's Reagans and Boyd. It's not going to be contrarian, but there's times to be contrarian. There's times to kind of just take what the slate's giving you. And I see Reagans and Boyd as kind of the what's the slate's giving me above 8K personally, with sprinkles of Singer and Miller to round it out.
Yeah, by no doubt, Reagans and Boyd are the chalk. I do think the more the weather, if it does clear up and Roth gives it the green light for the Yankees game, Pavetta's going to get some. Rodon will get some. They'll eat into Reagans and Boyd a little bit. I definitely like Nick Pivetta. I mean, he's been so good this year. And the K prop. So we have 3 people with a K prop of 5.5 with or better with juice on the over. The best is Reagan, 6.5. It's minus 130 on the over. Second best is Nick Pivetta, 6.5 plus 140 on the over. So that'd be 5.5 heavy juice on the over if it was 1K down. And then the other one is Matthew Boyd, 5.5 minus 160 on the over. The other like Ronel Blanco's 5.5, some juice on the over, on the under, excuse me. Carlos Rodon. Actually, I take that back. Rodon's 5.5 minus 110 on the over. With all that being said, I know you X'd out Rodon, and I'm good with that right now, but it would clearly be Pivetta, Rodon as my pivots, and by far I prefer Pivetta to Rodon. Probably my favorite pitcher at ownership, if ownership did stay true. Like if I knew this was 13.78%, Pivetta would be my favorite pitcher by far on this slate. Also, when we get to bats, like there's enough bats that we can mix and match, but there's also, I think, a couple clear tiers of bats. Only 8-game slate. We're not looking at like 85 degrees across the country in these spots where there's 7 teams with a team total above 5. As you can see, looking here, this Arizona Mets game looks good. KC, Seattle, and then again, you're mixing and matching some mid-4s, and I like some of those teams. Like I'm not worried about going Boyd, Reagans. I think you can get plenty different at bats, but I don't love going Reagans, Boyd, and then like I think 5-manning Seattle will be really popular. I don't just necessarily love eating all the chalk today. I think Pivetta is a very elite pivot. Again, that is assuming that game does play. Yes, I'm scared of Aaron Judge for sure. I'm not too worried about the bottom of the lineup though. There are some Ks to be had. So by far Pivetta. And yeah, when you were talking about Singer, the thing is this K prop's good. And he's going to be super, super low owned. 4.5 minus 170, I want to say, on the over. Yeah, minus 170 on the over. That's like the 5th best K prop on the slate. Brady Singer was a solid pitcher for KC for a little while. I don't know. I don't love picking on Atlanta. You liked him a little bit, though. At 6%, I would keep him in. You prefer him over Rodon, you said, right?
Yeah, so I would prefer him kind of straight up over Rodon, to be honest, with the upside. If I'm going to that weather game, I'm definitely with you. It's Pivetta all day, and if that everything's good to go there, I'm still scared by it. But I think Pivetta is probably the best play on the slate, given the ownership, given the upside.
What do you think the ownership would be if we get the green light?
I mean, it'll probably still be Reagans as the highest owned guy, but you'll probably see Reagans come down to about the 40-ish range and Pivetta in probably the 25-ish range, 25 to 30, I would say. It'll come much closer than it is currently because Rodon's going to pull some of that as well. So between Rodon and Pivetta, I would look at roughly 50% probably, 30-20-ish between the two of them, and then Reagans right around 40-ish. Is kind of what I would look at. And then kind of Boyd would be the next guy. Boyd would probably be in that 25-ish to 30-ish range. They won't pull much from him. It'd be more pulling Reagans down and uptaking Pivetta and Rodon being the main guy that would get the most steam.
Yeah, I think that's right as well. I would think Pavetta's probably in the 25% mark. I still would like him there. If we get the green light, 6.5K prop, again, a lot of juice on the under, but there isn't many good pitchers. When you sort by projection on this slate, like 2 guys projected for 15.5 or more, that's not. And then look at all this. So, and again, by far the most popular here. One of them have a bad game. SP2, like people keep saying, is the key to this slate. Let's see. I don't love Bryce Miller, by the way, too. I would prefer Brady Singer. I would not get to much Bryce Miller. And again, this is assuming like 10 teams or less. You're playing the $5, you're playing 60 teams. I'm pretty much Xing nobody to start. I'm seeing what SaberSim's thinking, comparing my thoughts with that. And if I have like 3% of a guy who already didn't like, then I keep going Xing that way and messing with stuff. But if I'm playing that many teams, I'm not Xing anyone out pre-build. Or I am the 8.5 projected and lower. Those are the guys who I'm Xing out. Let's go 8K and below. Again, pretty tough for SP2. I've seen a couple names thrown out there. AJ Smith. Someone's asking about is an SP2 pivot. Tobias Myers, I've seen a couple people talk about. The main guy that's standing out, he is getting ownership, is Ronel Blanco, though. I know the Brewers beat the Cubs yesterday. I would even argue they got lucky yesterday. Imanaga pulled his hammy on his way to first base right after that. Bullpen comes in, got right to him, scored 0 before that. I don't know what's going on with the Brew Crew. This is the team I am fine picking on right now. Blanco's K-prop, again, pretty solid on this slate, especially for the price. 5.5, a lot of juice on the under at -160, but Blanco by far looks like my favorite. Other than that, a couple guys all projected in the same range, though. Severino, Raup, AJ Smith, Blanco, Mikolas. Any of these guys stand out to you down here? Or are you pretty much 8K and above and you're just hammering the top range?
Yeah, so the issue with Blanco is he's been very, very good against right-handed hitters, 31% K rate, 9% walk rate, which is a little issue, and pretty much no power, sub 100 ISO. But you look at lefties, a sub 10% K rate, a 15% walk rate, and a 302 ISO. And the Brewers are probably going to load their lineup with lefties. They're lefty driven and well with Yelich, Turang, Frelick's a starter. Collins will hit from the left side. And then they'll probably add in Jake Bauers will probably get a start here tonight. So I'm expecting at least 5 lefties for the Brewers, which definitely gives me concern in Blanco in general. Personally, my favorite SP2 in the cheap range is going to be AJ Smith-Shawver. He's not a great pitcher by any means in my mind, but I just know how often and how wild this Reds team can strike out. When they're striking out in a lot, right? So with his strikeout stuff, he's got about a 26% K rate at home this season in his limited starts. The Reds, right around league average, right around 22% on the road, but they have McLean, almost 40% K rate, De La Cruz, 32% K rate, Gavin Lux, 30% K rate. So I think he's fine at 7,500. And I mean, again, this is a slate I'm looking to get 12 to 15 out of a SP2 because you alluded to it, right? Outside of Reagan's, everybody else is sitting around that 15 mark. I mean, Boyd's sitting at 17, but outside of that, I mean, you got like 8 guys between 12 and 15 DraftKings points, right? So that's kind of what you're looking at is who can get me 15. And if it's any more than that, I mean, great, right? That's awesome. So that's kind of where I'm looking at Shawver. I think he's good. Toby Myers has pitch count concerns there, but I mean, any right-handed pitcher that has a pulse against the Astros all season, I'm going to have some interest in. Toby Myers making a start. He's got strikeout stuff. His pitch count should be slightly higher. I mean, last start was his first start coming off the IR. He should have slightly more. And I mean, I don't hate him against at $5,700 against a team that strikes out a ton against right-handed pitching. As long as he's smart enough to not throw a meatball down the middle to Yordan, I mean, I think he can get us enough at 5,700. So I actually like him. Some stuff that I look at is kind of bullish on him. I expect him to right around be 10-ish%, something like that.
How many pitches do you think? Because looking at it, so this for Tobias Myers was like 82 in his last start. Now it's 59.
I would have took the under 100% last start. It was his first start coming off the IR, coming off getting surgery. IL,
yep. I know what you're saying.
So I expect, I mean, I could 65, 70 pitches. I mean, I could see 70 pitches.
If you give him 70, this projection definitely goes up. So SaberSim right here, 8.85. If this is 70 pitches, this number is probably like 11. And
yeah, I mean, I got
the K-prop. I got him 4.5. Like
I got him projected more around 12, 13-ish range, like 12.5-ish is kind of where I got him. So I think Saber's light on him. I think personally we're a little light on him. I got him, I mean, right around 12 to 13 DraftKings points. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I mean, it allows me to get up to the Mets. I want to play the Mets. I want to play the D-backs. I want to play some of those big hitters in KC and Oakland. That allows you to get up there, and with a very, very shaky SP2 on this slate, I mean, even Reagan's isn't safe. I'm just looking at a guy that can get me what I want, right? And Toby, he pitched pretty good last year in general. I think it's fine. So that's kind of where I'm at. The other guy I will mention is Luis Severino.
I was going to ask you about him. I mean, it's direct leverage off the first or second chalkiest team. K-prop is pretty much the same as Bryce Miller, who we X'd out 4.5 -110. Yeah, I mean, keep going. I was going to mention him, and I like it. Like, it's scary, but looking at ownership, and then if Seattle busts, I mean, when we get to hitting, they're by far, them and KC, it looks like, by far the chalk. So you get direct leverage if it works. I mean, on a slate, pitching's tough. I was going to mention that. I like it.
Yeah, so I like Sevy. The reason I like it is I think this ballpark in Sacramento, right, where the A's are playing, is going to be big time wind driven. Personally, I mean, it's still not a great. I mean, it's not a huge park by any means, but you look at the temperatures tonight out there in Sacramento, 60 degrees. It's starting at 19 miles an hour, going to be 15 to 20 mile an hour winds blowing kind of in from left field the entire duration of the game, maybe pushing a little bit out to right field, but it's more so pushing against the right foul line, right into the bleachers. So that's not great for hitting in general. I get it. This Mariners team is kind of flip-flopped in terms of strikeouts. Last year, we picked on them a ton against right-handed pitching. This year, they're bottom 10 in the league in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching, but it's direct leverage. Severino's look good. They're showing the ability to let this guy go 6-7 innings because they know how bad the bullpen is behind him. And I mean, I think it's solid. So I don't mind. And looking at his career numbers against the Seattle team, I don't take into account a ton of this stuff, but I mean, he's sitting at a 31% K rate and 55 plate appearances against the current the current roster for Seattle. So I don't hate it again. And I mean, I think he can go out there and get us 15. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I don't think anybody's going to play him because I ran a dry run in Sabre and I got 0 of him in 150. So I think it's an interesting play there.
I'm with you. Any Mikolas, any Ryan Nelson, any Shane Smith? I'm not playing him.
Yeah, so the other guys, I mean, I'm not playing Nelson, making his first start. Shane Smith, I think he's actually a decent pitcher, but it's more so just worried about maybe not as much interest in the Royals bats. I'm not going in to play Shane Smith personally. So for me down here, I mean, Mikolas, Toby Myers at the bottom. I prefer Toby much more, but Mikolas, he's going to go right around 85 to 90 pitches, I would say. Not the greatest matchup, but it's still the Pirates at the end of the day. I don't mind being on both sides of that matchup if you need a guy and you want to get off Toby due to the pitch count concerns. Miles is kind of your guy there at 6,200. Shawver's my favorite guy down here, then Severino. Got those guys kind of 1A, 1B down here. I'm not really interested in Blanco personally. I don't love it, especially if the lefties for the Brewers are there. There's 5 or 6 of them in there. So for me, it's really the 2 guys at the bottom and the 1 guy at the top in Severino.
I like it. So this is kind of the pitching pool that we developed, 20 teams or less, 10 teams, 15 teams, right around there, wanting to make cuts. But Nades even said if he was playing 3 teams or less, he would just lock Reagans. And from there, when you do that, you obviously playing 3, 4 or 5 teams. You're not getting every single one of these guys. Like Toby would be just an MME play. But again, this pitch count, like his projection would be much better if Sabre projected him at 70 pitches. So where you have him is a big thing. And then Mikolas. And then after that, there's no one 1K. Like 1,100 is the next pitcher that we have some interest in. And Nades doesn't even like Blanco. This is me that likes Blanco a bit. And it's mainly because of what our guy Josh said. Somewhere over here. How bad the Brewer. Yeah. Worst ISO in the league the past 2 weeks. But like Nate says, they're going to probably throw a lot of lefties there, but he would be my favorite for that reason. And then Severino is interesting for the direct leverage, and you can definitely eat a lot of chalky bats, play Reagans next to it, etc. Now, one last thing before we go to the Stone, talk some bats. So Kenny said, how do you know like what lineup it's one you use when you upload? So your top one right here. So usually you have to upload your lineups, and then by then when you upload your entries, it can read how many people in your contest, what contest is it, all of that. But it'll then be, when you sort by Sabre score, it'll be your top one. So this is saying 10, if you can see above, 10 to 50,000 people in the contest from high to low. So this would be the preferred lineup that it wants you to play without doing anything though. I would go into stack exposure. I focus on 5-3s, 5-2s mainly, etc. Like if it gave me a 4-2 as my top one, I just wouldn't play it. But that is what it's telling you. The top right here, when you sort by Sabre score, this is telling you theoretically, if you're just blindly trusting Sabre Sim, that is what it's telling you right there.
Yeah, and yeah, you could change that too. So it's like a lot of the single entry stuff, I would switch it to depending on what the single entry is, but a lot of the single entry stuff is less than 1,000 entrants. So I would go to large slate 100 to 1K, meaning 1,000 people. If it's bigger than that, I would jump it up to 1,000 to 10,000, because that's where you're taking into account, even if you don't have the ultimate package like Title and myself, when we're screen sharing that at least still gives you an idea, right?
They still get all this stuff. Yeah, the Saber score, you guys still, right. And it's just the watered down version, essentially. Contest sims are every play-by-play simulations. This is their best metric. There used to not be contest sims. Saber score was what people use at Saber sim. So it's definitely back tested heavily. All right, let's talk some bets. Let's flip over to the Stone, one of the best pieces by far of content, everything you need in one. Again, we have the Stone for all the sports up here, but for MLB, last thing I did want to mention, FanDuel. So FanDuel locks, we're not going to talk about on this slate right now, but 6:40 Eastern, FanDuel. So they're playing 8 games, just like DraftKings, but they're including the Dodgers and the Marlins and the Guardians and the Nats, and then they're not including the A's and the Mariners and the D-backs and the Mets. So instead of these late night 2 games, they're crossing these off and they're starting the slate 25 minutes earlier at 6:40 Eastern. So if you are playing FanDuel,
I think it's the 2 pitchers. Only 2 pitchers in your pool, especially unless you're getting into like 150 match, 20 max stuff. I mean, you're looking at Boyd and you're looking at Ragans. I mean, realistically, you're not getting cute. It's 1 pitcher site. And then FanDuel changes a little bit, having the Dodgers and the Guardians being able to play. Huge lean to the Dodgers, and that's kind of my synopsis there of FanDuel, because it's taken away the D-backs and the Mets. So I'd put the Dodgers at the top stack over on FanDuel personally.
There you go. Let's talk some bets. 8 games on DraftKings. The Yankees and the Padres have started off. Neither team going to get much ownership, as you can see. 31% combined for the Yanks, 32% for the Padres. It is Yankee Stadium, though, place we love to play bats. Looking at weather in this one, not great hitting weather, only 60 degrees, wind blowing in a little bit, which is why we see the total there, and 2 pitchers that if we do get the green light, like this ownership for Petta will be doubled. For Rodon, I mean, he's going to probably be in the 20s as well. These pitchers will be played. So assuming everything's good to go, can we get a little leverage off of either of these pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. They're 2 of the better pitchers on the slate to pick off. Sure, one-offs, etc. To be honest, I'm approaching the slate outside of maybe Pivetta, as this game is just not going to play. Padres have the best bullpen in baseball. Yankees are sitting about 6th in baseball right now. So I just don't love it personally. Sure, can you play Judge? Yeah, absolutely. You can play Judge anytime. I don't care if there's 30, 40 mile an hour winds blowing in. Judge has enough power to hit it out of anywhere, especially Yankee Stadium. Goldschmidt, the dude's just red hot at the plate, never strikes out, always puts the ball in play. Grisham just murders right-handed pitching, but I just don't think, especially at these salaries, that I'm going to go here. On the Padres side, I don't want to pick on Rodon. I mean, for bats, this is a cross-off spot, 50 degrees, temperature in the 50s, double-digit wind blown in kind of the entire duration, plus shitty weather. I mean, the players can't be, despite the matchup, right, where they would typically be looking forward to it, there's enough games ahead of them in the rest of the series that they're probably not too enthused to go out there and play in 50 degrees and raining throughout the entire duration of the game. So I don't love it personally.
Yeah, I don't love it either. And you can check out like the pitcher rankings right here as well. Rodon and Nick Pivetta do grade out really well. So Pivetta, my preferred play. If you're doing anything, I mean, the Yankees don't grade out poorly by any means in the stack rankings. Obviously, one of the best offenses in baseball. So if you want a mini or something, Pivetta gets some steam. I don't think it's the craziest. Definitely not good hitter rankings on the Padres side. I would ignore that. So Pivetta, I do have interest in. Rodon, I think, is a solid pivot in that range as well. But I do think if you're playing like 60 teams like Nades, I would definitely have a couple Yankees. Not necessarily has to be 5s, but 2, 3 men. And of course, you can always play some one-offs. They got power. A pop fly to left field can sneak over the fence, right field, etc. in this park. So little interest, not much. Another 2 pitchers that grade out well in the pitcher rankings that you might not expect. Brady Singer, number 5. AJ Smith-Shawver, number 7. We're looking at an 8.5 total in this one. The last one was 7.5. Little juice on the over at minus 112. Braves minus 135 favorites. Look at their ownership. Very low with a solid team total. Again, I had some interest in Singer, but I mean, if the Braves are completely unknown and you do want to eat Reagans and Boychuk, are the Braves a team that you're fine five manning?
Yeah, I don't mind. I prefer the Braves side of this game for sure. Start with the lefties, Olsen, Verdugo, Albies, Harris. You kind of want the lefties mainly against Singer. But the Reds bullpen, I mean, they rank pretty good, but right now they're kind of towards the top half of the board in terms of bullpen rankings throughout the course of the season. But I just really don't think the Reds bullpen is that great in particular. Braves, they're fine as a leverage stack. All these guys are going to be unowned. I prefer more as a mini stack just historically with this Braves team because they do have definitely holes. I will say Eli White has been absolutely ripping the cover off the baseball. He's got stolen base upside as well. So I think Eli White's interesting down there at 3,200 in the outfield. And then you can add in Michael Harris and do a little wraparound like a Michael Harris, Eli White, Verdugo is going to be absolutely unknown. Doesn't break the bank. And then obviously Riley, Ozuna, Olsen, Murphy are great plays anytime they're on the slate, regardless of the pitcher for the most part, as you can see there by the ISO numbers, tons of power. So I don't hate the Braves side of this game. On the Red side, Shawver can get wild at times with control. And if you give these Reds free passes, the issue that the Reds have is their strikeouts, right? So if they're getting free passes, they led the majors, I believe, last year in stolen bases. So I don't hate some of the Reds. I prefer more as mini stacks. So I actually have interest in somewhat of the Red stacks, more just picking on, you can steal bases on Shawver. I know it's a limited sample size. He's only allowed 4 stolen bases in kind of the last 2 seasons from what we have, but stolen base per innings pitch numbers are towards the top of the board on this slate. Actually the best to pick on in terms of stolen base per innings pitched, and that's what the Reds like to do. So you don't need the baseball to go over the wall with the Reds with how much they run. So stolen base guys there for the Reds that you're looking at. Ellie, obviously, Spencer Steer if he's in there, Fraley, Friedel, Marte, Espinal, Gavin Lux will run a little bit. Those are kind of the main guys you're looking at there that have some stolen base upside.
It's got to be one of the better hitting environments on this slate too. I mean, not necessarily like that. It's like deep in summer, Truist Park, 85 degrees. It's not necessarily that, but the slate in general for hitting weather isn't great across the country.
Slight wind blown out, temperatures in the mid 60s. It's a decent hitting park in general. So, I mean, the power guys for sure. And then add in some stolen base upside on the Red side. I think is a pretty interesting game. You notice by the total, one of the bigger totals on the board. So I don't hate it for sure.
Yeah, third biggest. I mean, it's close to the second with Mariners A's 8.5. It just has a little more juice on the over. Looking at ownership, I mean, the more I look at it, like this is a spot that Braves side, I'm fine with some Singer at pretty low ownership. I like the Braves though in chalkier teams with chalky and pitching. Shawver is going to get ownership as SB2 a little bit as well. So if you want a little Reds minis, like you're saying, I like this game for bats. The more I thought about it, Brave side, definitely the 5-mans. Prefer the lefties, no doubt about that. But I mean, Riley went deep yesterday twice. Ozuna's always got pop. And you mentioned Eli White, Harris, Albies obvious. I mean, yeah, I like this lineup the more I kept talking about it. I did want to say that, Go Collect. Very fair. I have not asked once, so that's partly on me. But if you're out there, do us one second. But if you're on your phone and you're watching on the side, hit the full screen, the thumbs up and the subscribe right there. If you're on the computer, you're probably staring at it right now. It helps us out a ton, bringing you shows for free on this channel every single day. So like button, subscribe button does help us out a ton. Thank you, Gold Collect, for making my job easier. Next game on the slates, Nate's new favorite team. Actually, I did want to bring up this too. Who's got a more fire stash, Hammer Nades? Both are nice. I can't grow anything for shit. Both of them grown-ass men that can grow. Nate's is nice, but I will say Hams is real puffy and really out there.
Hams definitely. This is the first time I actually gave her a go. Ham's definitely got the years of experience on me. So I'll side with Ham, but I'll take my nice. Not being in the sheets at 7:30 at night, going to bed. Overgrown a nice stash there. So a little jab at my boy Ham. But yeah,
I gotta say I'm with Ham. I'm in the sheets probably 30 minutes after that. Very early over here on the mountain time. But yeah, shout out Ham Absolutely the man. Can definitely grow a nice stash, and Nades can as well. But back to this, Nades, probably the chalkiest team on the slate. The team that got you 4 figures yesterday, Kansas City Royals and the Chicago White Sox. We're looking at a 7.5 total, some juice a little bit on the over at -112. Royals big favorites, -225. Obviously, Reagan's number 1 in the pitcher rankings, going to be very chalky. So is there any White Sox bats we can pick off? Royals side, you mentioned a little pre-show you didn't love it as much. If you're playing them, are you fine playing Reagan's Boyd? If you're playing them, how would you play them? Are you playing them at all?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Royals side. I mean, this is the best spot on the slate in terms of stacks, but it is only a 7.5 total. Shane Smith is like the best pitcher that Chicago does have. I mean, he has the most talent. He's actually a okay pitcher. I mean, he's not going to get a ton of swing and misses. I mean, he's sitting about a 21% K rate, but he limits hard contact hitters. In 111 plate appearances over the last 30 days, hitting for a .082 ISO. KC struggles to hit home runs in general, obviously outside of last night, but it's completely different weather here tonight as well compared to last night. Winds kind of blowing across the field. Temperatures are decent, right? Kind of upper 60s. So it's not the worst. It's still a good park in general. You're more so playing for the bullpen, and then they can play the platoons and the splits and that. So I'm much less interested in the Royals here tonight because I do also think they're going to get much more steam. I mean, recency bias is massive, right? We saw the Astros earlier, like 2 weeks ago or whatever, go off, I think, on a Sunday, right? And we came back the next slate, and the Astros were like 50% owned just because we're blindly owned, regardless of matchups or anything, facing a right-handed pitcher. Like, it was just it was ridiculous. So recency bias, I think, are going to steam the Royals in general. It is a pretty bad bullpen behind Shane Smith in general. I mean, I would start with the lefties, Vinny P. Drew Waters, my boy, absolute legend. So I like the lefties, and then obviously add in Bobby Witt, Perez. Any Royal stack, I would probably include Bobby Witt. It's just hard to assume the Royals are going to smash without Bobby Witt doing something, hitting in kind of the 2 spot there in the heart of that order. India's on fire. Michael Garcia, I will talk about him a ton. Reason I was so high on him yesterday is because of the stolen base upside. The dude's second on the team in stolen bases behind Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt's one of the best stolen base guys in the league, obviously. Michael Garcia is right there with him on this team. So there's naturally baked in upside there. He's got some power, and it's at a weak third base position. So Royals, for sure, great options. But just know you go in there and you play the Royals and the Mariners, Mariners minis with Royals 5-mans because of how cheap they are, and you play a Matthew Boyd and a Reagans, well, you're holding hands with everybody else. So when I play Royals, I'm probably more likely to go to like a Pivetta, right? Pivot off of Reagans and not stack the Royals with Reagans, or pivot my, or maybe I go with Matthew Boyd and a cheap pitcher and then go 5 Royals and go like 3.
Matthew, Eli White, Michael Harris, like you just talked about. Correct. There, something like that.
Correct. Something like that. And then go 2 spend up arms and go like maybe I can get a Reagans and Pivetta with 5 Royals and then like the back half of the Braves or something like that. Just different roster constructions when you're playing the Royals. It's clear cut the best spot in the slate. Projections are going to slam it as the best spot in the slate. The dry run gave me, when I look at stack exposure, right, in terms of team stacks and 5-man stacks, sorting by projected score, it's 27% Royal stacks and then 27% Seattle stacks. So it's basically split in 40 lineups each in 150 sets between the two of them. When I go overall stacks, it's 60% of the lineups with a higher lean to Seattle because of more of the mini stacks due to their price point. So those are 2 of the chalky spots on the slate. Royals is a big talking point. I'm not really worried about the platoon guys and the splits because you're more so when you're stacking the Royals, it's a bad bullpen behind him. I think if the Royals do a ton of damage, it's likely more so against the bullpen than it is Shane Smith. You got to pick holes and point holes at what kind of slate's showing you. And I just a little bit worried on the Royals today because I expect leading up to lock, their ownership, especially if we get the green light, right, and we have 2 more spend-up pitchers that people are going to want to play, you can 5-man stack this Royals because outside of Bobby Witt, everybody on this lineup is 3K or under for the most part. That fill weak positions like Massey, right, at second base. Michael Garcia sub 4K. You got very cheap outfielders, a cheap catcher in there with Freddie Fermin. So I just worried about how much they get steamed. On the White Sox side, MME only, mini stacks only. I would cap it at 3-man stacks, but guys like Chase Meadroth at a weak position, going to put the ball in play him at second base, 2,700. He's fine. Andrew Vaughn, I guess. Luis Robert. I mean, it's pretty gross. Benintendi's been swinging a decent bat this year, but lefty. I mean, it's really MME only. And even then, I don't love it. It's more so leveraging Reagans with some White Sox minis or one-offs.
Yeah, I mean, we just looked at, so obviously if you add up all the ownership, 15% for the Sox, not even double. We just talked about the Braves. Like, we actually like the Braves a little bit. I know the direct leverage, etc. It's an 8-game slate. I think there's enough ways to get different. I'd rather play AJ Smith-Shawver and Nick Pivetta together and fade Boyd and Reagans than I would probably play 3 White Sox on my squad. So I think that part's easy. Royals, I have Royals 3. We're going to get to that Mets D-backs game. I really like that when talking ownership compared, but I do prefer Royals to Seattle if having to pick, and those are the 2 chalkiest on the slate. What do you, how do you see Royals and Seattle when comparing the chalk?
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm with you there. My favorite offense is the game we're going to talk about in Chase Field, both sides of that game, but Royals check-in number 3 for me as well. And Seattle, to be honest, at their ownership, I think that's definitely a sell spot on me, personally for me, especially at the ownership. I mean, I would much rather prefer the Royals. And again, I say it all the time. Drew Waters yesterday was 2% owned. I mean, the back half of this lineup, Drew Waters actually been playing good. For Freddie Furman, most guys are going to play Salvi Perez, right? Punting and going to the back half of this lineup with Kyle Isbell, who, hey, this dude's been hitting home runs somehow. I mean, 2,400, 2,300. Play those guys at the back half and then grabbing the top guys. Don't go in and play 1 through 5. I would make sure to include at least one of the 7, 8, 9 hitters in my Royal stacks. Naturally, you're going to be more unique than guys that don't create that rule or actually pay attention to it. So in hand builds, it's a little bit easier. But I wouldn't be opposed to doing it in an optimizer, creating a rule to include at least one of Waters, Furman, Isbell in 5-man Royal stacks, because naturally you're just going to be different.
Makes a lot of sense. And again, I'd be more inclined to do that in a 40,000, the $5 flagship, than the 121 with 450 people. Like, at the end of the day, you just got to make like a pivot in 2 spots, rather in like 4 spots. First place out of 40,000 people, pretty hard to do. First place out of 400, still hard, but not nearly as hard. So what you're playing, think about stuff like that as well. All right, next game, Brewers and the Astros. We talked about Tobias Myers and Ronel Blanco a little bit. 8.5 total, some juice on the under at -115. Brewers -118 favorites. You prefer lefties for sure when targeting Blanco. You prefer lefties a little bit too, especially on the K stuff. Myers, a lot more strikeouts on the right side of the plate against the left. Will say, though, the Astros projected lineup, only one lefty in there. That is Yordong. I mean, yeah, Yordong probably does go deep today. Don't hate him as a one-off at all. The price tag on FanDuel has been absolutely silly all year. He's been 3,200 pretty much every single year. He's been in the cash core almost every single day. Just too cheap. More appropriately priced on DK. I definitely like it as a one-off, a mini stack. Astros are grading out well in the hitter rankings. I don't know if they can get to Toby early. You're not going to get the best Brewers bullpen arms. Guaranteed 9th inning at bats. I assume the roof will be closed at AmFam. But if I had to pick a side, I would definitely be Stros over Brewers. I know Blanco struggles with lefties. I got to see these Brewers hit anything. It's been bad as of late, but there's definitely better games on the slate. As you can see, that's why ownership, I mean, man, it's a little higher than I expected. But yeah, Stros side for me if I had to pick. What about you? He's on the IL?
Yeah, so there's no Yordong in the lineup.
Well, yesterday get hurt?
Yeah. So
then this lineup's garbage. I don't want these guys then.
So it's Pena's leading off, Altuve, Paredes, Walker, Diaz, Denzo, Myers, Smith, and Dubon. So I mean, I'm full fade in the Astros. It makes me like Toby even more, even with the pitch count concerns. I mean, you take their best bat out of the lineup and add in more strikeout happy bats. I'm happy to play a $5,700 pitcher on this slate. No Astros for me. On the Brewers side, lefties in particular, but even then, I mean, Blanco has control issues, double-digit walk rate when you look at last season. Obviously, that's driven heavily this year. And when you look at this season numbers by the lefties, sitting above right around 15% walk rate to lefties, 16%. When you look at full season last year, he was about 10% to both sides of the plate, though. Brewers are a patient offense, right? They're not hitting for a ton of power, but what do they have? They do have speed. It'd be nice to see them actually use their speed for once this season. But I think things can go south, not just because I'm a Brewers fan in general. I'm just looking at the slate. Brewers are going to be unowned. Mini stacks, I don't want to 5-man stack them, but offense on this slate, like I said, I mean, outside of the Seattle and Royals, I mean, everybody else is pretty similar in terms of ownership, and nobody really knows what to do besides those two spots. I've played this game long enough and for multiple years. I know when the slate seems to be that easy, that's typically not the case. So I don't mind a team that does have upside in my eyes. In the Brewers, I would look at the lefties, Turang and Yelich, staples in your stacks, but I expect Bowers to be in there. Collins is going to hit from the left side. And then you got some low strikeout bats from the righties, guys like Churio, right? Contreras doesn't strike out against righties. Overall, this team sitting on the season, 19% K rate against righties, and double-digit walk rate. All of these guys on the team outside of Durbin and Churio have walk rates pushing 15%, which is good for hitters. So they're a patient offense. I think things can go bad for Blanco, and that's enough for me to consider this Brewers team as a stack. Probably not main team category, but in MME, I'm definitely going to be over on Brewer stacks. I'll tell you that for sure.
I ain't gonna argue that. So I just was so flustered with the Astros. So they're all righties, all 9 of them. If Toby Myers can throw 75 pitches today at 5.7 K, I like that a lot. The more I keep looking at Toby, the more I like it. It's what's his pitch count? That's pretty much what you're guessing and what you're hoping to get right. But
50, I mean, he's 5,700.
Yeah, I'll take a chance.
Look at how many of these hitters on this slate. I mean, the entire Cubs roster basically is more expensive than him, right? And he's got guys at the back half that are 30% K rate or higher against right-handed pitching. Guys like Denzel, right? Christian Walker, who's brutal. Diaz, all these guys have been struggling. Brendan Rodgers, pushing 40% K rate on the road this year against righties. He's got good strikeout stuff, and I think again, it's the second start. If he's pitching solid, I mean, our bullpen has been beat up all year. I don't see it. So I mean, if he can get me 70, 75 pitches against this lineup, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I definitely like it. Obviously, I mean, no Yordong is an absolute massive hit for that lineup.
Yeah, I missed that. I missed that too. That just shows you how little I've played the Astros. I haven't played the Astros at all year. So even Yordong, I mean, people always chase Yordong. I just any pitcher with a pulse and any organization with a pulse this year is going to pitch around Yordong, right? So if you want to go in there and play Yordong at 5,300 and get you 2 walks and maybe one guy's stupid enough to throw him a pitch and he hits it out, I mean, sure, but more times than not, he's not going to. I like other guys' upside more personally. So that's kind of why I haven't really noticed he was on the IL. And
I guess he's been out since Friday. I played Friday and I played yesterday.
I played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I didn't even notice because I click on the slate, look at the Astros, and I'm more so worried about who I'm going to pitch against that lineup than play the hitters.
Yeah, losing Kyle Tucker right in front of Yordong definitely, or right after Yordong, definitely did not help him at all. But let's get to the Cubs and the Giants. You mentioned pretty good pitching weather in Wrigley, some wind blowing in. We are looking at a 7.5 total, juice on the under at -125, -175 favorites are the Cubs. Definitely not playing the Giants. I'm in on Matthew Boyd. Now with the Cubs, whenever I see the Cubs this low owned, this lineup is just too good to be this low owned. They got 0 yesterday. Brewers shut them out, but man, 2 games right before that, they put up a crooked number, had 8 in the second inning. My brother said he showed up and he left literally in the second inning to that game. The prices are expensive, but again, you can go Toby with Cole Ragans and 5-man the Cubs and be totally fine. At this ownership, the Cubs are number 4 right behind the Royals for me. I'm in on the Cubs. The lineup's just so good. Anytime they're this low owned, I should say, I have interest. What are you doing with the Cubs? I definitely don't have interest in the Giants, but take it away.
So the Cubs, right? Cubs are in a stack category every night in today's state of the game, especially when they're going to be unowned. Do I love it? Absolutely not. I mean, what I look at, multiple sites for weather, temperatures in the 50s, wind blown straight in. I mean, I got it as negative 30% or higher boost or decrease for runs and even higher than that for home runs. is that everything? No, absolutely not. The other thing too, I mean, I don't love Landon Root by any means. He's pitching over his head and he's kind of regressing. But the Giants bullpen is second in baseball behind the Padres, right behind him. So if things go bad, they're going to throw it right to the bullpen. Then I don't ever love it. I think Cubs are probably 5th or 6th on the slate for me, and I prefer more as mini stacks, especially at these salaries. And then when you factor in the bullpen and the weather, that's kind of two strikes against them to lower them. But in MME, I mean, you're never going to go wrong, at least for the time being, to get overweight on Cub stacks. Because even earlier in the year, right, when it was like 30 degrees and snowing in Wrigley, the Cubs went off for like 15 runs. So they can do it. I just play a game of probabilities. I just think their probabilities of having another team outscore them is significantly higher. But again, they're all going to be unowned, and it's not going to take much to get overweight. So in my 60 in the $5, I'll probably have overweight on Cub stacks just naturally, because that's just the way I play, and it's not going to take much to get over. I mean, if you have 10% Cub stacks, you're way over the field, and you still don't have to go crazy with it.
Yeah, I mean, just say the wind was blowing out and it was nice. I mean, that's a 5.6, and like the weather is always baked into this as well. So it totally makes usually a home run, like that's just getting over the fence. Now is a warning track fly ball, and that definitely stings. But again, ownership, run total, all that's accounted for with that weather. Next game on the slate, St. Louis Cardinals, Pittsburgh Pirates, looking at an 8.5 total, -115 on the under. Looking at the pitcher rankings here, neither grades out too well. You mentioned earlier, Mikolas is someone you can play for very cheap, but also stack against a little bit. The Cardinals, I know G. Risen always hates on the Cardinals, but ownership in check, run total fine. I don't know. What are you doing? This seems like a sneaky game. I could get some offense in that not many are in chalkier teams.
Yeah, I like this game both sides. I think I wrote in the slate plan. I put the Pirates in there because they're literally, I mean, number one, Cardinals bullpen is just absolutely horrendous behind Mikolas, who I don't think is very good by any means. He's not going to go out there and strike out a ton of guys. I mean, he's a below average strikeout arm. He doesn't allow a ton of power. But again, I mean, O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, McCutchen, Valdez. I mean, I think a lot of these guys you can definitely play. I like the Pirates quite a bit here tonight, actually, and I don't think many people are going to play them. I don't think it's in 2025. I was going to be touting the Pittsburgh Pirates on an MLB show, but just the nature. If this was a bigger slate with better hitting environments across the board, I would have zero interest in the Pirates. But again, when teams like the Mariners are going to be mega chalk just because of the slate, I think the Pirates are fine. Personally, I prefer McCutchen, O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds. Reynolds and Cruz are by far the two best bats. Don't sleep on Valdez, right at 3,300, hitting fifth. Play him at first base. That's a cheap price point there. And then you guys got guys like Adam Frazier at the back half that you can play that just put the ball in play at a weak second base position. So I actually like the Pirates. And then on the Cardinals side, I don't mind them either. I like both sides of this game. Lars Nootbaar, by far my favorite bat. And then probably Nolan Gorman at 3,400 there. Just a power guy, second base, third base. Two of the worst positions on the board for players-wise, especially on tonight's slate. So I like both sides. I prefer the Pirates slightly more, I think, in tournaments. But the Cardinals are dirt cheap as well. And I think at similar salaries, that's your pivot off of the Royals. Because their salaries are pretty much equal, even at the top end. So I don't hate it. Prefer the Pirates side more. Cardinals are interesting as well, just because Cardinals bullpen is ass. So that's why I give the slight lean to the Pirates side.
Makes a lot of sense. And I always like when it's really close for me, the guaranteed ninth inning at bats always go a long way. Even though they got 9 up, you can easily get a couple more in the ninth where you lose that at bats as the home team if you are winning. All right, next game, 2 games left. This one has the highest total on the slate. D-backs, Mets, 9.5. Little juice on the under at -112. -120 favorites are the D-backs. My 2 favorite stacks, I go 1 D-backs, 2 Mets, and Corbin Carroll is my favorite bat on the slate. It's not even close. The dude is just next level, power speed combo. at the top of this order. Griffin Canning is not good by any means to righties, to lefties, below average in strikeouts. Ryan Nelson isn't good against really either anyway. Lefties a little better than righties, but I mean, you can stack these guys 1 through 9 on both sides. I think what I like, I'm always fine playing Alec Thomas, Gabriel Moreno, Suarez, 1 through 9 the D-backs. I like it. The Mets, I mean, yeah, I'm fine playing Acuna at a weak second base position. Same thing with Jeff McNeil. He'd be my least favorite if I had to pick. Francisco's got power, Nimmo, you can play these guys 1 through 9, and that's outside of 1 through 3 are not expensive. D-backs outside of Marte and Carroll, not expensive. So, yeah, I mean, it's all in on this game. Looking at ownership, I mean, this has to come up a little bit, especially on the D-back side maybe. But regardless, people are going to go Mariners. People are going to go Royals. So, yeah, D-back's my favorite. Mets number 2. What do you got?
Yeah, so I'm with you, lockstep. D-backs my favorite stack on the slate by far. They're starting to hit the ball as well. They hit well yesterday. It was good hitting weather there in Philly. The roof's going to be open here tonight. Best hitting weather by far on the slate. Have to assume it's pretty warm. You obviously live out there.
Chilly compared to what it usually is, but relative to everywhere else in the country, it was raining. It's just sunning up and getting good hitting weather. So yeah, it'll be a beautiful day.
Yeah, compared to the slate, this is some of the best hitting environment on the slate. Not necessarily for home runs, but just runs in general overall. And I mean, I like it a lot. I'd focus on the fly ball guys to start for the D-backs against the Mets, which you're looking at Suarez, Corbin Carroll, Perdomo, Marte, Gurriel. Obviously, they have stolen base upside as well in there with guys like Carroll and Perdomo. So I really, really like the wraparound stack. I mean, you got my boy, my hero, Alec Thomas projected in there. I don't know if he's going to be in there. Moreno as a cheap catcher that can hit the ball in the air. I love this entire lineup 1 through 9. Again, focus on those fly ball guys. And then on the Mets side, you want the lefties first. Lindor, Soto, 2 of the best plays in the slate. Jesse Winker. All you BVP guys out there, if you want to look it up, Winker's destroyed Nelson too. I always love to throw that tidbit out there because BVP is always a love-hate relationship in the baseball space, whether you believe in it or not.
I always like to hear it, even though I'm on the side of I don't look at it too much.
Yeah, I mean,
I always like to hear it.
It's not a decision-making point for me, but I just always look at it just because. I mean, looking at it, he's 3 for 8, 2 home runs, 375 average. Actually, this entire Mets team has just destroyed Nelson in particular. When I look at the entire roster overall against Nelson, Nelson's got a 15% K rate, slugging of 664, and an expected batting average of 311 against this Mets roster. So I love both sides of this game. Prefer the D-back side. Because I think they're going to be lower owned than the Mets. Start with the lefties for the Mets, but I would definitely include Pete Alonso in your stack as a staple. I mean, the dude's hitting the cover off the baseball right now, 5,700. He's going to be pretty unknown. The lefties are going to soak up most of the ownership. And then guys at the back half like Acuna, who has stolen base upside as well at second base, weak position in general, puts the ball in play. I love this game. Definitely a game stack viable. Highest total on the board. Vegas has it as pick 'em. And I think it's a great spot.
I'm seeing the D-backs lineup is out. I'm not seeing the Mets because someone said Winker's out. Oh, yeah, Yordan went. Now I'm seeing Yordan an hour ago went to the IL. I'm not seeing the Mets lineup out. Someone said Winker's out. Very well or maybe got hurt yesterday. That's what they're saying because I'm looking at somewhere else that he's not in the projected lineup.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he's out, regardless.
The projected lineup I'm looking at is Tyrone Taylor there at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't love him, but still, I mean, the Mets are still great. In terms of bullpens, let me just look real quick.
D-backs have the same lineup, by the way. Like Suarez is hitting 5th, Moreno 6th, Gurriel 7th, but the same projected of the 9 we have are the same in there. But yeah, Winker's not going to be in the lineup. The official lineup's not out yet, but he must be on the IL.
So the Mets have the better matchup in terms of bullpens and the uncertainty of Nelson and how good they've hit Nelson. So slight lean to the Mets. That's going to be the chalkier side. But again, ownership's not going to matter in general, at least projected wise in either of these teams for the most part. Again, the chalk is Seattle and Kansas City. The optimizer dry run showed you that. I mean, 140%, 150% of the total stack ownership was soaked up between those two teams. So Mets definitely have the better matchup in general, guaranteed 9 inning at bats. Looking at Arizona Pen, 4.5 ERA, 1.31 whip, which is not great. 8th worst bullpen in baseball as it ranks right now. Mets do have a good bullpen in general, but still 3.07 ERA, 1.17 whip, which is still above the league average there. So love this game in general.
McNeil or Marte from our guy Philly Phantom. And also, we gotta get the IL thing figured out on the Stone. It's gonna drive me nuts all year.
I
know.
What
do you got though?
Yeah, I'd lean to McNeil just because you can play him at second base, and second base sucks in general. And I lean to the lefties. So give me a McNeil.
Yeah, he was on it 17 hours ago. I mean, the Yordong it was put on an hour ago. I didn't expect that to be updated, but all right, we're gonna get that figured out moving forward. There's a million things going. Like I play NBA, I play MMA, I play PGA. Right. There's MLB. Like I got all the notifications, but by no means am I a baseball savant that knows every single thing about every single guy. So I'm not going to pretend I do. All right, last game of the slate. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Oakland Athletics, Seattle Mariners, 8.5 total, -118 on the over, -115 are the Mariners in this one. Severino, Bryce Miller on the mound. We talked about it. Huge ownership going to the Mariners. I mean, they're very cheap. Only one bat above 5K. Cal Raleigh, absolutely been out of this world. Bottom of the order isn't too scary for me. And we talked about Severino. Like I like a little bit of Severino, mainly for the direct leverage. K-prop was fine. You mentioned the weather and the wind earlier, that you don't think it's great hitting weather by any means. A's, I don't know. What about them? They're low. Other side of the chalky spot. Pricing very fair. They're low owned. We don't have interest in Bryce Miller much. Yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the A's. I like the A's more than Mariners at ownership for sure.
Yeah, so I don't like the Mariners at all. Looking at the slate, looking at some stuff that I look at in terms of ballpark pal and that, Severino's got the second best prop on the slate to earn a quality start. So that also increased my interest, right, when we were talking about pitching, and the leverage built in there. The guys I would focus on if you're playing the Mariners is the lefties. Polanco, Cal Raleigh being the main two. If you're stacking the Mariners, do not leave those two guys out of your stack. Those are the two best plays from the Mariners. Rowdy Tellez at 2,400 as a punt. The dude's been absolutely crushing. I don't know what happened to him this year, and he's still dirt cheap. So I would focus on the lefties. I hate JP Crawford, but he hits from the left side. So if you want to throw him in, and then rookie Rylan Thomas, if he's in there, it is a solid bat. I'd focus on the lefties. I don't love it. I'm fading the Mariners personally. I'll be underweight in MME. I'm not full fading them because I'm probably going to play almost everyone in terms of stacks in my MME set. But in single entry 3-max, I'm fading the Mariners. I actually like Severino. On the athletic side, the lefties, Butler, Soderstrom, Blade are kind of the main guys I'm looking at. Nick Kurtz, if you need a value at first base, and then you can always play Shaling Lears, Jacob Wilson. That dude puts the ball in play always. And then Brent Rooker, obviously. So this A's team actually has a good lineup in general. Even the back half put the ball in play outside of Nick Kurtz, right? So you look at the total strikeouts last year. This was a team we picked on constantly because they were in towards 30% K rate against right-handed pitching. Not the case this year. And Soderstrom being my favorite bat. Soderstrom, Butler, Blade are kind of the three main guys you're looking at there. Adam Rooker, Adam Langeliers. Don't have to worry about ownership in general. Decent park in general to play in, but again, the weather-wise, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds kind of blowing in from left foul pole to kind of right foul pole, right field foul line kind of temperatures in the 60s. So not the greatest hitting environment, and I do think weather is going to drive this park in general over the course of the season.
Yeah, I look at it, I like the Cardinals Pirates more than I would like the A's, so they fall down the list. But yeah, the $5 out there, I've been focused on NBA pretty heavy. Probably going to throw some of that $5. And I agree with you. Great thing about Contest Flashback with SaberSim. Again, the best right now, the best deal if you haven't used this DGen 75, gets you the core package. Usually $99 for all the content, all the way down to $24. But if you do use your first month with that and realize you really like SaberSim, for only $30 more is the starter package. And you get this Contest Flashback. You can see what pros do, what Nades does, what Rio does, what whoever you deem sharp, Chipotle addict, Papa Gates, whoever you think that you want to study in all the different tournaments they play in, all the different sports, you can see their ownerships, their exposures, all of that. What I notice in MLB, it is very spread out. It is very diversified. Why is that? We're already talking about one of the most high variance sports out there. If you're building a lot of teams and making a lot of teams, the reason you're doing that is so when people are playing 5 teams, it's harder on them. You want more combinations. You want to spread different things out, especially in baseball. It takes one team. Hoop absolutely boat raced last week in the early slate. If you saw, though, he had a lot less bubbles in the money than he did out of the money. And that's what happens with baseball because it's a stacking sport, 5-2-1s, 5-3s. You diversify and stuff with those stacks, and it only takes one, especially nowadays with how top-heavy tournaments are nowadays. 50K first, 15 second, couple $100 to like 10th. You need first place if you're playing long-term enough. So you don't want to cannibalize your lineups as much. Like, yeah, I'm going to have 80% D-back stacks today. They have 2 runs, pretty much drawing stone dead. That's not, in my opinion, the right way to build baseball lineups. Pretty much all sports. Making a portfolio, diversifying the more teams you play is important. But, yeah, my favorite stacks, D-backs, Mets, Royals, and then I probably would go to that Cardinals Pitt game if I had to choose. Any final thoughts from you before we wrap it up? Hour 15 talking some baseball.
Yeah, some of the best players in the world. Giant Squid rings a bell, number one, right there as one of the best. And I studied him a lot. I mean, he very rarely goes over 15% stack-wise in baseball in his 150 max. Again, and this is a slate where I'm more willing to spread out more. So even in my 60 teams, right, where I'm up against 150 maxers, I still have more than majority of the field has in that contest. I'm likely going to be stacking majority of these guys because, I mean, a lot of these teams, 5% stacks, which is what? I'm bad at math, but it's not that many lineups. You're still over the field, right? So if that team does go off, I mean, you're
over the field's over the field, regardless what it is. Over the field, if they're Buddy Hield was 8% yesterday. I know it's a different sport. 8%. You had 12%. You're over the field relative to everyone else on a guy that you absolutely need. So whatever that is.
Yeah. So I like that. My takes. Mets and D-backs, number 1, number 2, 1A, 1B, however you want to put it. Pirates are pretty sneaky for me. Braves are pretty sneaky for me as well. Those are kind of 2 of the teams that I'm looking at there. Pitching is pretty cut and dry. In my single entry 3 max stuff, I'm going Boyd and Reagan's at least on my main team for the most part, unless I see something else. My favorite pivot would be Pivetta there. Seems like you agree with that. And definitely underweight on the Mariners is kind of how I sum up this slate.
Awesome stuff, Nades. And again, his MLB slate plan, Nades is on that today. You can get his favorite stacks, pitching, the whole breakdown, and a couple cores from him. Cash cores are also in the slate plan. Stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, all awesome stuff. A lot of that you can see on the Stone. Projections ownership also updated throughout. Nades, awesome stuff as always. Love talking about baseball with you. Stay hot. One time on need to see another screenshot from you. Everyone else out there, appreciate y'all hanging out. Just today alone, NBA big boy prizes, MLB big prizes as well. It's the beauty of ShipItNation.com. Low price for all the sports. Less than, now $24, less than $1 a day, which is absolutely insane for your first month. Otherwise, less than $100 for the best Discord community, Saber Sim, and all the content. Absolutely cannot beat that. But we'd love to have you get in the Discord if you do join. Good luck today, Nades. Good luck, everybody out there for Nades. I'm Titletown. Be safe. Peace.